When Project Cars 3 came out, it was immediately disliked upon launch. It did not meet people's expectations at all who were big fans of Project Cars 2 because it leaned to a much more arcadey direction, and once people figured that out, it was over for the game. But years later, I've decided to come back to it with bias put away to see, is this game actually good? Immediately, I was impressed with how the car handled compared to Simcade games. So this game, its direct competitors aren't games like Assetto Corsa or R Factor. They're games like Gran Turismo and games like Forza. And compared to those games, the handling actually felt really good. I felt connected with the car. It felt intuitive. I could predict the slides. Rain or shine, surprisingly, felt really intuitive in the rain. I race a lot of rain in Simcade games, mostly in the F1 games. That's where rain shows up most for Simcades. And this game, it just felt way more intuitive, controlling the car, catching slides, and just knowing how I can best carry the momentum through all the puddles, through all the corners in the water. And of course, on the dry, it felt great. And that's probably all because the game is still made in the Madness engine, which is the engine that is used in Project Cars 2 and more recently Automobilista 2. And those games feel great. So even though the style of this game has shifted from sim to something more like a Simcade like Gran Turismo, the force feedback that comes through the wheel and the physics still carry over from those games. So you get a lot of realistic feeling and force feedback in your wheel, and it just feels really, really good. I've driven multiple cars in the game now, and they feel unique from each other. What I will say is that the cars do feel easier to drive than in Project Cars 2. I had all the assist off. It still felt easier to drive, but I don't know if that's a terrible thing. There's been a lot of talk lately in the sim racing world that hard doesn't equal more realistic, and I felt immersed in how this game handled. I don't know if it was bad that it was easier to drive than Project Cars 2. I think I'd definitively say, compared to Gran Turismo and Forza, I like the force feedback in this game the best, and the handling. I feel like it's the most intuitive, really immersive, being able to feel the weight shift of the car and control it with the steering wheel and with the throttle and brake. As far as AI behavior goes, that's one of the big criticisms of the whole Project Cars series in general. I thought the AI actually drove really clean. I didn't have any trouble racing them, and I didn't fear that they were going to do something stupid and ram me off the track. Anytime I spun, it was mostly my mistake, being too aggressive into a corner, getting a spot that wasn't there. But here's the big issue, and it's that because this game isn't trying to go for how a race weekend would be, it's instead more like Gran Turismo, where you go race after race after race with not too many laps, no qualifying, nothing like that. Except there's 26 cars on the track, and you're expected to go from 26th all the way to first in 2 laps for some of these. And it's kind of ridiculous to do that in these 2 laps. And so because of that, these AI get super bunched up, and it looks really, really silly, and it really breaks your immersion. I would have rather seen less cars and have them more spaced out And even if you're doing that thing where you have to start in the back and make your way to the front, if there were just say cut it in half, 13 cars, I would at least have a moment with each car, each AI car I was racing against, and have a moment where I'm actually trying to make a move on him. Here, they just all bunch up, you pass a bunch of them, or you have to wait in traffic if it's a tight squeeze. And it's just really weird. The AI themselves don't bother me, but the amount of them just really pull you out of the experience because of the way they have to behave in a 2-lap race where you're starting in the back and there's 26 of them. That part is really disappointing and weird. As far as structure of career mode goes, you either like it or you don't. If you like the structure of games where you have to progress and make money to buy new cars, hit certain goals in order to unlock new tracks, then you'll like this game. But if you want something more like Project Cars 2 or the F1 games where you're playing season-long championships, developing rivalries, and you want to feel like you're a professional driver in a racing series and less feeling like you're in a video game, then you're not gonna like it. For me, I'm more into the full season type thing, but there's plenty of people that love Gran Turismo, love Forza, and I can't speak for myself and say that the progression and career mode is bad just because it's not what I would do. I never really get too into those more checklist type games, but so many people do that I don't really want to judge it based off that. As far as presentation goes, the audio is somewhat disappointing. I felt like it was worse than Project Cars 2. It feels really like an afterthought, and like it's not something you think too much about. And the visuals and UI are nothing crazy. I miss the epic orchestra and how epic Project Cars 2 felt compared to this game. In the main menu, it has this wonderful orchestra score, just like Project Cars 2, except it's like, oh, this is an even bigger and better thing. But then when you get into the career mode menu, it goes into some more dance type music, and it's just not that epic feeling, but that's not really what this game is going for. As far as graphics go, looks fine. I think as sim racers, I'm especially a guy that plays a lot of iRacing and can't run a game like Assetto Corsa on the highest graphics with the mods. I don't have too much complaints about graphics, and I thought it looked fine. And in VR, it looked good, except for when I was racing in a street race in Havana, and that's where it started struggling. And I guess I forgot to mention, this game has a lot of fictional tracks, and I really like at least the one I played, Havana. It was really immersive, even in the struggles of running it in VR. I thought it was a really cool track and a cool immersive environment to be in. I really liked it. And so at the end of the day, I'm surprised to say that I actually really like Project Cars 3. I think it's a fun game. Surprisingly, has some things that it does better, I think, than Forza and Gran Turismo. And by the end of my time playing, I was actually thinking, you know what? I'm not gonna uninstall this game right away. There's gonna be days where I want to keep it casual and just hop into this game in VR and just knock out a few career mode things here and there. I actually think slowly going through the career mode might be fun. I'm kind of tempted to go do it. I didn't think I'd be saying that when I started making this video, but surprisingly, the game kind of started winning me over, and I think it's definitely not as bad as we all originally felt it was. But what do you guys think? Do you like Project Cars 3? Do you hate it? Have you given it another chance? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more sim racing content like this, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.